We're doing kind of one of our Viking top fives.
Yep.
Well, I'm going to ask Andrew about his top five Viking and Celtic novels and authors that you should read. So
So I will
tell me about
preface this by saying that I read all kinds of stuff. I don't just read Viking novels. So my Viking novel top five is going to span the last 30 years, 35 years. So I will missed many probably gems out there. So chat and YouTube comments, feel free to drop in whatever great ones that I missed, but I'm going to go through some of the ones that I started reading in high school and throughout like college years. So at number five, I would put Lloyd Alexander's Book of Three. So this guy is one of the ones that end up introducing me to kind of like a very, very fairy tale meets Viking vibe. The Book of Three, I think this one was the one that ended up having some sort of like um, oracle pig that ends up bringing the protagonist into another world, and I think we ended up making one of our Fate of the Norns adventures with an oracle chicken that has scribed with runes that was kind of inspired from the oracle pig was
of
in this
course.
novel.
Of
So
course.
to this day, I still like have fond memories of this novel. So that's on my number five. Number four, one of the classics, is the Elf King's Daughter, which is by Lord, what's his name again? Dunsany? Dunsany? Yeah, I guess. And
Dunson.
Dunsany. So this is a marriage between a mortal man and an elven maiden. And you can imagine all kinds of things that go wrong between the kingdoms. And it brings a lot of this kind of like Nordic vibe of gods and elves and strife between these kingdoms. So this one also
Those
just
kind of Family Feud
stuck
type
with
thing as
me.
well.
Yeah, it stuck with me after I read it. So yeah, come to think of it, from the previous segment when you said, why did you guys go with Norse versus other mythologies, Fate of the Norns? Could have been some of these novels that I read while I was in high school. Um,
That's,
you were saying?
I was gonna say that's fair. I mean, it's like even when you don't think about it, sometimes you're inspired by those things you read. I mean, like Lord of the Rings inspires me more than I can imagine, and it has been literally almost 15 years since I've read it. So
Yeah, that's a classic. My son couldn't get through it though. He just couldn't take the writing. He didn't like the writing style. I think it's maybe a little bit too archaic for him. Um, but
it's pretty rough.
he reads the other one that deals with mythology, something something thunder. Shoot.
Oh,
There's a whole series like with Greek mythology and Norse mythology. The author
yeah, the Percy Jackson
Percy
ones.
Jackson. That's it. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
that's the one he got into.
It's a good book series.
Yeah.
Good.
So we are at number what, three?
That would be number three.
All
Yes.
right. So next guy, Mr. Poole Anderson. So
Mm.
Broken Sword, love this, and this got me down the rabbit hole of that whole Elric vibe as well. So if you guys know Elric the Stormbringer, the White Wolf, basically this is one of the big inspirations for Moorcock, this novel here. And this guy also wrote a bunch of other series in the Vikings, which was the Golden Horn, which I don't have in my library anymore, or the Sign of the Raven, which I read as well. But I think I lent them out and never got them back. Hopefully, they're in
Ah,
some
yes.
happy homes. I've got them noted on the side. And that brings us to number two, which was an author I read actually not too long ago. I guess this was maybe 10 years ago. Mr. Cornwell? Cornwell, yes. Bernard Cornwell. And The Last Kingdom. And when I read this, I was just like, I fell in love with everything that he did in this book. And I reached out to him. And this was around the time I was doing the Ragnarok writing 10 years ago. And I asked him if he wanted to collaborate to do some novel set in the Fate of the Norns universe or an adventure for Fate of the Norns universe. And he looked at some of the stuff that we were just putting out at that time, because I think it was just after our first Kickstarter. And he says, looks really fascinating. I'd love to. He goes, but I got something really big cooking right now that's eating up a lot of my time. Maybe we'll be in touch. We'll figure something out. And little did I know, like just a year or two later, the Netflix series announced that based on his line of novels. I can imagine why he was so busy. Uh,
Kinda, you know.
yeah, but it was really cool that he replied to another author just right out of the blue. So yeah, highly recommend that book as well, and the whole series actually. And that brings me to my number one, which is Mr. Padraig Colum. So I've got a whole bunch of his books. So Children of Odin, I've gifted these to a bunch of people already. Fantastic story about pretty much he tells his own version of the Eddas in here, so it's not like a translation of the Eddas, but his own take on a summary of all the stories from prose and poetic Eddas. And then he does a bunch of stuff also in the Celtic realms. And this guy's an author from 150 years ago, or just the turn of the 19th century or the end of the 19th century. So this is another one of his books. This is set more in the Celtic world. And I grabbed one of these really old ones in a bookstore. This one was printed. Geez, what's the date on this bad boy here? Oh, not that old. 1943. So I thought it was
Not
made.
that old.
I thought it was going to be an older one. No, but I mean, it's just the book looks really old on the inside. Well loved, well read, but I mean, it's like really
That's
old
fantastic
fashioned,
art.
really nice presentation on the inside. Great accessible writing style. Great for kids if you want to get your kids into fairy tales and mythology and stuff like that. So I would say, that's my top five. But I would be remiss if I did not mention our extremely, extremely talented authors from Pendelhaven. So we have Chris Chalice with Scythe and Sword. We have Stephen Pearl with Horn of the Kraken and the Mistletoe Spear. We have Michelle Franklin with the Misadventures of Mindel. And we have Ed Greenwood with the One-Eyed King. So that is another whole set of amazing brand new novels. These are just either just came out or coming out for our Fate of the Norns world. So they're definitely to check out above and beyond my top five.
Of course, of course. I mean, there's no biases there either.
None.
But so, um, all right. Well, I mean, so that's really good, and that's like also a really good basis to get kind of like probably a little bit of the inspiration of over the years, and just some of the ideas that we've kind of turned up. And if hey, you're ever trying to like think up your own Viking stories, well, check them out. And like mentioned before, if you have any interesting ideas, or you think we're completely missed something, let us know down in the
Probably did.
comments, in the chat, and we'll be more than happy to take your criticisms. So, school.